So, we are talking stages of group development, how to ride the wave and build community. If you understand how groups naturally progress, then you'll be in better shape to guide and help further that process so that the group becomes everything it can be. And it goes from a collection of individuals to being a team. So, let's get started. Now, as we move forward, one of the things I want to give credit where credit is due. Now, this is not Tuckman's stages of group development. He had forming, storming, norming, performing. That being said, I didn't make this up out of my head with no reference to others. So Tuckman's model, forming, storming, norming, performing, his model of group development is one of the inputs. I think that there is some wisdom there, some really deep insight. But the reason I'm doing this video in the first place is because I've never found Tuckman's model to be satisfactory, as in it generally described how some groups form, but it didn't take into account how a lot of groups form. It seemed to leave out some stages. And then when you get up to the higher stages, there's less understanding of, so how does one help make this happen? So I've refined that model, but another key input, Edgar Schein, organizational development and leadership. He had a model for how groups develop over time that was very impactful for me. And finally, probably the other formal source would be role renegotiation by Sherwood and Atkinson. It was a paper, 1971, but it talked about the dynamics of individuals and how they change and shift. So there's a few other pieces in there, but if you want to dig deeper into how I believe groups develop, those three sources are primary and they underlie the model that I'm going to show you. So that being said, let us dive right into it. So at the first stage, I see the first stage as assembling. That is, I wanted to distinguish it from forming. Assembling is just they've got together in the same room. At the very beginning, they're going to be very dependent on the leader. I say felt dependence. It's not so much that they will think this, but they'll be looking for cues and cueing right off what the leader is doing, how the leader structures things, what the leader says we're about, and how we're going to make this happen. They don't know exactly where they fit. Where they are emotionally is in a bit of an unsettled place because they want to have impact. They don't know how included they are, where their power is. Now, what can you say? At the end of this stage, they've got their initial pecking order. That is, they kind of know where they fit relative to the other people in the group initially. And oh, by the way, this assembling stage, two things. It happens pretty quickly. It can happen after the very first meeting, time the group gets together. And secondly, it will naturally progress to the second stage. So the second stage is what I call faking. In many, many groups, once we know we're there, we start telling ourselves an illusion. We'll start working on something, and we're looking for something to celebrate and to talk about and to pat ourselves on the back about how great we are and we're really a good team. And it's because we're still uncomfortable. We still don't exactly know where we fit. We really want to fit in. We want intimacy. And so we talk happy talk at this point. The challenge is it's never true. Your group, if it's meeting for the first or second time, and let's say you did a really good job on a presentation, you're still just like any other group. Okay, so you got a little something under your belt, but you still don't know one another. There's no real trust. And some of those initial roles, like who's leading the charge and how we fit together and so forth, which were established at the very beginning, oftentimes just based on who spoke up and who was more verbal and who was more assertive, those roles become unsatisfying. particularly if we have to work with one another over time. And so again, naturally, we move into the third role. And in this one, I do want to take Tuckman's term, storming. I think it's very descriptive because at this point, things aren't working very well. And this is where we see two behaviors emerge. One is open conflict. Like, so there's a rub between one or more of us on the team. Or it shows itself up as people stepping back, disengaging. The emotional focus that people have at this stage is on their needs. What's either working or not working for them, where they think they should go, how your bread is buttered, how my bread is buttered, etc., etc., etc. And the issue, and at this point I say, yes, you're still a group, but you are not a team. You are just a collection of individuals. Okay, each person again is about their own stuff, not committed to the growth of the group or the larger team goals. And unfortunately, I think this is the natural settling place for most groups that are put together. That is, without some direct intervention, without some strong leadership. And by that way, I don't mean forceful leadership. I just mean effective leadership. Without effective leadership and or facilitation, and some things that are done deliberately, our natural human tendencies to focus on what we want, to see ourselves as the center of the universe, and to kind of discount what other people think and say in their experience, means that we are going to conflict some, we'll disengage, we may move back into the place, we may settle a little something, and now we're telling ourselves what a great group we are again. But unless we seriously renegotiate and rethink where we are and come to new understandings, we just settle into normal for most people. That is, we collaborate a little bit when we have to, but I'm guarded and I'm not really extending myself for you. You're not really extending yourself for me. And those are some of the hallmarks of when we start to become a team. So this is the stages of group development, part 1. And in the next video, I'm going to show you where we can move forward.